Refresh really came out of the idea that there needs to be more discussion about the influence of hip-hop in mainstream culture. And there's a lot of ethical implications to it, and how do we address those, and who's we? Is it Vibe Magazine? Is it you and me? Is it MTV? I would like to introduce Chaz Bojorquez to my left, and then Mir One to his left.
I started writing in 1969, so I was about 19 years old. My tag was this skull, and it was a combination of different cultures. So I started hitting this up in the streets. Since then, the Los Avenues, the gangs down there have adopted it. They say if you get a bullet, if you have him, Señor Suerte on you, you won't die. Yeah, sure.
I've been writing graffiti since mid-1986. Recently I've been trying to discover what is graffiti and why do we do graffiti. This is one of my first canvases I've ever painted, but this was my first piece I actually took from the streets and put onto a canvas.
Did I save my money and I bought a house? All right, did I sell out? No, man, I saved my money and I bought another house. So now I got to go out there and protect it from graffiti. That brings the whole community, the whole equity, the whole real estate value of all those homes down 25, 30%.
Tagging is piecing, is graffiti, is art. Tagging is just, to me, the epitome of a dissatisfactory of the quality of life.
Something else that's about, how would you describe authentic or real? Or these things that we're talking about. What is it? Challenging. Except everybody's talking about keeping it real, and we can't even define it. Graffiti, some people think, derives from the Latin word graffiare, which means to scratch. So, there's been graffiti forever. Some people think those first cave paintings in Lascaux were somebody putting up their tag. Well, is that graffiti? A lot of people be like, well, not supposed to be doing it. Someone else owns it. That's probably graffiti. What if I can pay for it? Now, if I just roll up on the bus and put my name on there, I get in a lot of trouble. But if I'm Pepsi and I can buy the bus, is that still graffiti? And I decided, you know what? I want to be a spray painter. I want to be a painter, and I wasn't telling people this, but I said, I want to paint in this material that I know people think is garbage, that I hear people talk about negatively, and know covertly part of it is about its connection to race. In this community, the only time people of color have a voice is when they try to sell them something, or maybe someone will do a mural of them when they die. So the importance of them being alive, talking about something that they care about, is revolutionary. Maybe you haven't noticed, but I'm not talking negatively about hip-hop in this discussion. On the one hand, we can talk about what's wrong with things, or we can be like Gandhi and be the change we want to see. If we want the world to be more peaceful, make things more peaceful. If you want things to be more inclusive, make things more inclusive. If you want people of color to have a voice, find a way to give them a voice.
I co-curated the show One Planet Under a Groove. We started at the Bronx Museum in fall of 2001, as Brett mentioned. Well, one of the things that I was trying to do with the show was basically talk about art in very much of a museum context, but coming from something that was at once very personal and at the same time something very universal, which hip hop is. This is a work by Adrian Piper. It's called Funk Lessons. One of the things that we were looking for in the exhibition was that I think on one side you could look at the show very much in a conceptual format. On the other side you have this sort of intuitive take on hip-hop. This is Jean-Michel Basquiat, Toxic, from 1984.
I wanted to see if you would talk a little bit about the exhibitions, maybe that you're currently working on or have been working on recently.
One of the things that we're not even really talking about, it's almost like taken for granted, is this idea of what is hip-hop. I mean, for me personally, it's just a way of life, and it's the way that you go about your daily experience.
We've got a special panel with Asia One and her daughter, Yaya.
Talk about B-girl culture, which is where I'm from, which is what I've been doing the last almost a decade now. Next year will be a decade for me within this dance form. the original dance form of hip-hop culture. Women have always been like the minority, obviously, and it kind of frustrated me and a lot of the women that I was running with, because we were paying mad dues, really perfecting our skills, and we wanted to be seen as equals, not as like some kind of trife object just because we were women. So basically I came up with a concept called No Easy Props, which is really about, it could expand to anything. It's kind of non-gender related really now, talking about really earning your skills within hip-hop, whether you're a writer, you're a b-boy or a b-girl. That a lot of the girls usually have dance backgrounds that I meet, or gymnastic backgrounds, and what happens is they start coming around, they peep the scene, and they see breaking, and they see how dynamic it is, they see how difficult it is, and they want to try it because it's a challenge.
I started dancing in 1983. New York had burst out of its microcosm. That's when everything was brand new, it was fresh.
I got started dancing in '92. There was a lot of acrobatic stuff going on at the time that was mixed in with the dance, and that was kind of what attracted me. I felt, and a lot of my friends, contemporaries, felt that we were pressured by a lot of the older generation to not add in so much of these influences. And it looked more capoeira-ish than b-boy-ish, or more circus-like than b-boy-like. They want to see how far they can go in one direction and get away with it and still be called a b-boy. It's kind of a big old experimental thing.
What do you think makes people not want to fall into the category of a b-boy?
That they interpret disapproval that they're getting from the older generation at what they're doing and all these, at all these influences that they're incorporating into their dance.
There's a new generation of kids who feel this way, who are kind of rebelling against the system, being the system, like the elder b-boys.
Yeah.
When we're not trying to oppress people, though. We're just trying to basically, all of this is done out of a love for the art, a love for whatever you're doing. B-boying does have its rules, and I'll compare it. It's not, you used the word rigid earlier, but it's not as rigid as, say, like ballet, but it is a structured art form like ballet.
Since I'm an OG, I'm 50 plus years old. I've watched this music evolve from the cotton fields and also spread out to where people really grabbed it. The world has grabbed it, just like Elvis Presley grabbed the early parts of this music, just like Duke Ellington, Benny Goodman, all of those folks grabbed other parts of this music. The only sense of survival that we had for 400 years, the dance and the rhythm patterns of our continent that kept us alive, and that's part of the reason that it keeps the rest of the world alive. And I use dance as a way to tell all of the other stories, because one of the more integral parts of this was dance and music. It wasn't just dance by itself. And I think that that's one thing that, to me, gets lost in the this more recent hip-hop movement that is happening as it gets spread out to other cultures. It's, you can play anything over the movements, but one of the more integral things is that you have to have the dance and the music together. They both propel each other.
Black love radiators and Jack Chameleon rock the spot.
Let's go, y'all. Let's go, y'all. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, y'all. Can I see some air? Can I see some air in the house? Can we get some air tonight or what? Haven't seen no air at all. No air. What's up, y'all? Yo, some people's brains is so dense that it don't make sense. So, ladies and gents, Dr. Oop presents that B elevation to put y'all in the frenzy from the African dog. And I don't mean Basenji, but then again, aren't we all? Recognize it, the black love boat. I'm Oop Doc and not Isaac. Besides it all up, the world is the pitch without the olive. That's why I radiate Jala in all of my endeavors. Wherever I go, in every show, yo, wherever I flow.